So, hi guys, it's that time again, update for October. A lot been going on this month. Just going to do a bench update with this one, so you get a break for a month from not seeing my face. So obviously we've got the run up to Telford, Scale Model World, which is kind of taking my all of my time and focus on getting stuff ready for that, because I've got a display there, as most of you know, with Spanish Civil War modelling SIG, and I started off, I suppose, from about the middle of the year, about May time. I sort of picked 6 projects I wanted to get ready for that event. I usually just have one table, but I've seen that it looks like I might possibly have 2 tables. I probably won't know until I get there, so obviously need to have all things covered and have enough to fill the space. So the 6 projects I've been after getting completed, I have got 4 pretty much finished completely, and then I've got another 2 that are so far ahead that they could almost go as they are. It's just, you know, a case of how much weathering I want to do, and we've still got over 2 weeks, so that's good going. That's what I wanted. So starting off, we've got the Airfix 148 Stuka here, JU87, the B1 version, which the Condor Legion in Spain had, I think, 6 of this type. They had 5 of the earlier A version and 6 of the B version, and that's been more of an in-depth build than I wanted it to be. It's meant to be just a bit of an out-of-the-box build, but encountered a couple of problems throughout the build, and then one thing leads to another, and before you know it, you've spent quite a lot of time on it. But with all that said, I suppose I can commend Airfix for attempting it, and giving us an early B, and that's, I mean, generally, and if they'd got it right, it would have been executed very well as well. But the problem is, we've had another bit of a failure here, I would say, if they'd spent a bit more time in the quality control and sort of product testing, this would have been a better kit, because this one was plagued with sink marks, miss moulds, and quite a few problems like that. For instance, again, one side you've got this lovely riveting running all down the side, and then the other side it slips into the panel line, so you sort of got half rivets. It's almost, it would have been better if you didn't have the rivets in the first place with that, for instance, because it sort of stands out when you look for it. Sink marks all over the wing. Where you've got these options here to actually open up the gun bays, you've got sort of struts going along there, and it's not going to show on camera necessarily, but when you're stood here, you don't have to look too hard, and you can see sink marks all the way around, showing you those shapes. You'll see all of this. I'm going to do. I've done a photo build of this, so that's for the website, and then I can do a video as well with a photo montage. You'll see where I'm filling all the stuff. So it was endless problems as far as that's concerned. Not of anything too major, it must be said. It's just a pain to have to do it. You're already a step behind before you started. And the main problem is the canopy. They give you an open canopy. This is if you don't know the Stuka, it's a 2-part canopy, and the middle section is fixed. Then this section slides back, which is what we got here, and then this section slides back as well, and that gives you the gap. So the rear part moves back and the front part moves back across the centerpiece. And Airfix give you this bit moulded as one piece, and the Stuka, you don't notice it. It's known for its like framing on the cockpit, but you don't notice that until you look at it, that the actual framing this going this way is all on the inside, and that's the bit you see. The outside are just sort of panes of glass going horizontally against that. So to get that effect with the moulded canopy in the centre, it's actually not possible to get all the bits painted the correct colour. So you need the internal colour and the external colour. But the closed canopy is okay, so I didn't know that going into this, and used the middle canopy, and you'll see again in the pictures when we get to the build of it that it was all wrong. So I've basically used a vat form canopy there on the centre section. And yeah, I suppose overall it's nice. It's a nice option that you get the engine and you get the chance to open up the gun bays and stuff, and it's a good subject. So you know, overall I'm pretty happy with it. My intention is to get this on a base using I've got a few figures, and I want some like oil cans and stuff, and I've got all of the cowling parts all painted and separated. Whether that will be ready for Telford or not, I'm not sure. So this will be on the table, and then if I do the base afterwards, then you'll see that in a video to come later. So I'll do a reveal video just for the kit and the pieces, and then show you doing the base at a later date. So that's that one. Then we've got a very sort of interesting one here. I think, you know, it's a bit unusual. This is not as an aircraft, I must admit, but as far as markings, this is the Edward BF-108 Typhoon, the German Messerschmitt reconnaissance plane, and this has been an alright kit. It was left in a box for a long time because I didn't have a canopy. I snapped it trying to open it, and then all of a sudden I just had this brainwave that, oh, I could contact Edward, and they sent me one within a week. So there you go, that was 6 months waiting just for me to think of that. I enjoyed this build. I sort of went to town with it. I've added riveting all the way along. Again, I'm having a bit of trouble with the lighting here, so hopefully this is okay. But again, this is just an update video. All of these are going to have proper videos for reveals, so just bear with me. And yeah, this is blue all over. I think it's ROM 24 is this actual tone that they've got here. And when I was looking at some reference pictures, I noticed that the propeller was wrong in the kit, and then I soon then realised that Edward actually do a Brazen set for the early wooden propeller, so I've painted that up and got that on there, and you've got the sort of early way of painting that. Blue all over there. I don't know if you can see any of the riveting showing up, it's a bit dark, but it is there. It shows up when you stood here looking at it. And I painted all the markings on there. I used a die cutting machine to cut those fours out, and this is 444, so that's pretty easy. And yeah, all again happy with this. A little bit annoyed when I took the masking off it. I could see quite a lot of sort of dusting and a bit of bleed on the inside of the canopy there, so a little bit of a pain. But I mean, this is not meant to be a showstopper. It's just a table filler for me, so it's just to do the rounds for a year. So so that's that one. They're the two. No, there is another completion. So you will have seen the video for this one now. I'm happy to have this one out the way. And this is the conversion from Alicat models for the 109D. Using the Edward set. No, using the Edward base kit, sorry. And the Alicat conversion. So you've got a resin nose to give you the new engine. And that was a nice build. Not much to say on that. If you're interested, have a look at the full build video. It's on my YouTube channel now. And again, pleased to have this one across the line, because this is one of the showstoppers for the table, so you know it needs to be ready. So that's that one. Then we start getting into some of the really interesting ones, and this one here you will have seen if you watch my channel that this has been on the go for some time, and in fact over a year ago I put it into one of my update videos saying that it would be ready for Telford, and obviously it didn't meet Telford last year, but it is going this year, because as you can see, like I said, I've got these now to a point that not that it could almost go like this, but I mean, you know, a couple hours work and it'll be ready, you know, a bit of a panel line wash and a matte coat, and yeah, that's good enough for the table. Struggling to get this into the camera here. So there we go, I think we can just about see that. Again, it doesn't fit in. This is the 132nd JU87A. So this is the Anton. This is the one with the great big silly wheel spats, like this. Great big trousers on it. And one of the early schemes, the splinter pattern there. A very attractive model, and as you can see, this is why I want to have this as the centrepiece of the whole display, really. So I'm glad to have this at this point. Worked pretty hard to get it to this. Haven't really done anything as far as video is concerned on this. I have taken pictures through the build, but again, I've sort of gone off it a little bit. So unfortunately, it won't be a huge amount for you to be able to see how this build went, but I will do a big reveal video and discuss it. So you've got a full Big Ed set on this from Edward, and that's not his much as it usually would be in this. It was literally just a cockpit set. So it was all etched metal in there, and there really almost wasn't anything for the exterior. I've changed a few bits on this. This is what I would call probably super detailed in places. Tried to fix as many of the known issues as I can. I've sort of reshaped the wheel spats and drilled out some holes here and there and reshaped the propeller and drilled out these holes here and just things like that. I haven't gone too mad. I mean, it's not massive stuff. It's just sort of drilling out things, removing the machine gun on this side because it only had one that side, and a few things like that. I have repainted this scheme as well because I wasn't happy, and I managed to find quite a lot of reference pictures, and I painted the scheme quite wrong, and it is a very unusual, well, as I say that, it's an unusual scheme for the time. So this was a replacement Stuka, this one, 5. There was 1 to 4 sent, so there was 4 A's sent, and then 4 got damaged. Number 4 that is, and so that got sent back to Junkers, and then this one got sent out as number 5. Then there was no 6, and then we went on to the B's, starting from 7 to 13, and this one was, again, things have moved on a little bit, so it had a different scheme. You almost haven't got much of this grey. It's a lot more brown and green on it, and I don't have many wing shots of it, so I've had to go on reference pictures from what I can see, but the rest of them, I mean, there's almost all of this was the grey, and half of the fuselage was the grey, so it's a different scheme when you look at the other ones. So yeah, you can obviously see why I'm going to be pretty pleased to get this one finished. So that one's off to Telford. Right, and then we've got number 5, which is obviously, again, very near completion. I'm always extremely happy when things get like this. It's almost like it is almost detrimental, because then I start taking the pressure off, and I should just sort of keep going at the same pace and get across the line. But for me, getting near to the finish line seems to be good enough. But there you go. I'll when the deadline comes, and I'm a week away, I'll start pushing for these again. So this is the 1/48 Polycarpov I16, sorry, Type 10, from Edward, and it's a Profi pack, and I've chucked quite a lot at this as far as detail and trying to get things sorted on it and fixed and correct. So I reshaped the cowling front here, added quick boost exhausts, quick boost guns, and pitot tube, and reshaped a few of the things, dropped the rear what are that, ailerons there on the rear, or flaps. Sorry, I must read a book one day about what these plane terminologies are. So yeah, this is all done now. As far as all we're waiting for now is weathering. So this is in a matte coat stage, so this is just going to have a panel line wash, dust effects. It is going on a base that will be ready for Telford, and then I've got this little figure here to go with it, just to give it some scale, because obviously it is a very small plane. You don't quite realise that, but it is in 1/48, and you know, it would fit in the palm of your hand. And I've got the what have I got here? It is a Czech pilot, I believe. So it's from CMK. It's a Czechoslovakian pilot from 1938 with a parachute, and it's quite a nice cast there. He's just sort of walking towards the aircraft carrying his parachute, and the reason it doesn't matter that it's a Czech pilot, it's the flight suit that he's wearing is right for the time, so 1938, that's sort of bang on. The only markings on this is 23 on the rudder there, and I did that again using a die cut machine, and this is the Red Wings one. So there are no pictures of these, and there's not even really much of a description as far other than the unit was called the Red Wing, and Red Wings, sorry, and it was described as having an unusual paint scheme, which this is, and the best description I could get said that the wingtips from the underside were red up to the wheel wells. Well, I'm imagining that if they're red up to the wheel wells on the bottom, I've done that on the top as well. So I'm sure it'll be a talking point at Telford, because the chaps who have any interest in the Spanish Civil War don't tend to let me get away with much, so that'll be a nice talking point. So that's going to be done, and then the one that's furthest behind, and I've actually spent this weekend getting to this stage, is this one, which is probably the most interesting one for people who are not necessarily interested in Spanish Civil War aircraft. This is a lovely interwar period aircraft. This is a Fokker This is the Fokker F8, I believe. F7, sorry, F7B. So it's a Fokker tri-motor, basically. Much like the Ford tri-motor and all those types of aircraft, with the engines hanging from the underside of the aircraft there, and quite a gangly undercarriage. This is a Volom kit, and it's in 1/72nd scale, and I've tried to do pretty well with this and add in as much as I can from pictures. Nice big high parasol wing aircraft. And as you can see, it is a big aircraft. It's bigger than the 1/48th Stuka, and the wingspan's almost the same size as the 1/32nd 109. So it's a nice size aircraft. Republican markings, as you can probably tell, it's very easy to get into. Have everything Condor Legion, but I try and I suppose the Republican aircraft are almost more interesting. Tried to do a bit of a good effect there on the silver here for the used Alcalads all over. So you've got Alcalad Alcalad aluminium across the areas where it would have just been aluminium dope painted, and then on the metal bit at the front I've got polished aluminium, and I've used a few different shades here and there to pick out panels. So I'm quite pleased with how that's looking. The decals are not great. They have cracked a little bit, but they're going on alright, and they seem to be sinking into the panel line, so I'm going to give them another hit of Micro Soul tonight. And again, so this week I just want to get the engines on. I've got a whole box of bits here. I've got the engines, and then you've got the actual nacelles, or whatever that would be called. I suppose they would be nacelles, even though they're unsupported. Or well, who knows? I'm going to call them nacelles. So they sort of hang underneath there, and the undercarriage comes out of them as well. It's a bit of a tricky bit to do, but once it's sorted, it's alright. I've got a gun mount here, which goes on the back there, and you're actually meant to cut a hole out, but I didn't think that would be very good, because I'd have a massive seam line running along the floor. So I thought what I'm going to probably do is get a Rizzler or some tissue paper or something, stick it to the bottom of that, paint it brown, like a sort of canvassy colour, and have it like they've put a tarp underneath for when it's flying. I'm sure that might have happened, because they'd have a bloody great big hole otherwise, and it might leave a bit of a draft. So that's the last one to get sorted. So as you can see, again, this one's close enough to see that it's going to be making it to Telford. So I'm very pleased as far as that's concerned, because when I last spoke to you lot, I didn't have any of this done. The Stuka was a long way off, the 109 was a long way off, and they were certainly not into paint. So I'm very happy to be at this stage. So that just leaves what the rest of the channel is going to be about after Telford. Probably won't be doing any Spanish builds this side of Christmas after Telford, because it does get a bit much. But I do have this one that I'll slip in just out of the blue here. This is for a chap in the local club that I'm in. We're having people in the club build one of these. He's supplied us with all the kits for I forget actually what the story is, but it's for someone that he knows. I think one of their children is going to have all of these displayed, so we're going to make one of each of them, and you get all the numbers inside here. So I've got my number there, and that's the one I'm going to do. So I'll build this one out of the box and in flight, so that'll be a bit different. And we've all decided we're going to paint them white and use the Humbrol enamel 238, I think it is, or whatever the arrow colour is. I've got exhaustive emails where we've all gone through it, saying which ones we're going to use, as you can imagine. Yeah, 238. So we've decided to use the enamel 238. But that should be an interesting build, something a bit different, and it's British, and moreover it's modern, and even more than that, it's a jet. There's no propeller, so we'll see what my take on that will be. Should be quite interesting, and that one's going to be finished before Christmas. And then I've decided the next build, which I mentioned on the previous update, we're going to run straight into this one. So I've got some reference material on this now, and I think I showed you before, but just for recapping, there's a few bits to throw at it. And this is going to be a P400, and it's quite interesting that the scheme's going to be the RAF colours with American stars, because the P400s were built for the British Air Force, and then they were pulled, I think, after Pearl Harbor, and sent to the Guadalcanal, if I am right in saying that. But I'll brush up on the history of it when we get to the actual build, and I hope to start this one sort of mid to late November and get it get it all finished before Christmas, and then I've got a couple more I'm going to run on to. I've got the Hawker Hurricane Trop that we're going to do, the Airfix 1/148th, and then straight into the Spitfire Mark 5B, which I am actually looking forward to doing. These 3 kits, you know, should be quite fun. I keep thinking about this one. I can't wait to get started on it, and especially the Spitfire Mark 5B as well. And obviously the Hurricane, because you've got to love a Hurricane. So that's the state of the channel. So I hope you enjoyed the update. Hope you enjoyed the builds that are coming. You will get a couple reveal videos before, you know, before too late in November. I'll get them out before I go to Telford, and then we'll have a nice recap video and update for November, and that'll be showing you everything I've bought at Telford. So if any of you are going down to or up, depending on where you are, or going to the show in Telford at the second week of November, Scale Model World, I will be there both days. I think a bunch of the guys who are on YouTube are doing a meet-up, so I hope to meet some of them for at least one day, if not both days. And I'm in Hall 3, I've seen, so that's actually the entrance hall, curiously. So that's the one where Wingnut Wings will be, and all the overseas guys will be, and it's where you'll walk into the show as well. So come say hello, I'll be on the table. It's Spanish Civil War. It will just be mainly me and my poor suffering girlfriend as well. And yeah, hope to see you then. And if you like what you see, as usual, give the channel a subscribe, the video a like, and leave a comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video.